I welcome you to the Messiah channel, which is a prophetic end time ministry dedicated to spreading the news about salvation. Time is short. Time is short for debate. Unfortunately, people are still debating about things that may not be necessary for their own salvation. And the question that they are asking is whether Christianity is a white man's religion or not. Christianity has been a stumbling block to many people. Many people have run out of the church because they falsely believe that Christianity is a white man's religion. I'm talking about black people all over the world who still believe that Christianity is a white man's religion. And I'm also talking about white people who believe that Christianity is a white man's religion. So I'm looking at both sides. And both sides may make a wrong decision that will affect their salvation. It's because they look at the Bible from a racial angle. And racism is more important than their own salvation. And so let's look at the first question. Is Christianity a white man's religion? And for us to answer the question, I need to remind you about the recent revelation by Putin, the icons in Russia, suggesting that the Messiah, Jesus Christ, was a black man. And so that answers the question, is Christianity a white man's religion? And the conclusion is no. The conclusion is no, because the revelation that we have seen now, particularly regarding the biblical icons in Russia, suggests that the Messiah, Jesus Christ, the founder of Christianity, was himself a black person. And so, do you still believe that Christianity is a white man's religion? If you're a black person, you believe in that, then you are wrong. And if you are a white person and you still believe that Christianity is a white man's religion, and you want to worship God because you know God is white, and you believe that the Messiah, Jesus Christ, is white. If that is the reason that you are worshiping God, then I believe that you are wrong. That's why I'm saying take racism out of your mind as you worship the Lord as a Christian, because the Lord is looking for those who worship Him in the spirit and in truth. Is Christianity a white man's religion? And this question is very important because there has been a mixture of European culture and Christianity. I'm talking about the Christianity that was introduced to Africa, Christianity that was exposed to black men and women, particularly when they had the first European encounters in Africa and other parts of the world. And so people falsely have concluded that Christianity is a white man's religion because Christianity that was taught by Europeans were mixed with European and culture, and they were indirectly projecting European culture on people under the guise of teaching them Christianity. So if you look at Africa, we had missionaries who went there to spread Christianity to the Africans. they established schools, they established churches. But indirectly, they were projecting their culture on the African, and they were substituting European culture with Christianity. And so, in the end, many people believed that Christianity was a white man's religion. And the white man, the missionary, made it look as if the white man was the intermediary between God and man. Of course, they took away the role of the Messiah himself, Jesus Christ. The Europeans also projected the theology of a white Jesus, and that gave the impression that Christianity was a white man's religion, which is a false theology, is a false doctrine, and it's a false concept that has derailed many people in their faith in Christianity. And it has resulted in many men and women, particularly young black men and women, leaving Christianity or going to other churches. And it has resulted in many black men and women joining the Nation of Islam, when I'm talking about black people in the United States. The Europeans came to Africa, and they were using the Bible, and they were preaching from the Bible, but indirectly they were also substituting their own beliefs and their own culture and their own agenda in the Bible. And so some of the doctrines that were preached were anti-Christian, because they were doctrines that were merely projecting white culture, white supremacy. They were teaching Christianity to put other people down, to put other cultures down in order to promote the European culture. And that's why people came to the conclusion that Christianity is a white man's religion, and the black man doesn't have anything to do, or should not have anything to do with Christianity. The Europeans believe that their culture is influenced by Judeo-Christian tradition, and they talk about it, and they say the Western culture is influenced by Judeo-Christian tradition, the Bible, and they want to get credit for the Bible, and they want to they want other people to know that yes, the Europeans wrote the Bible, the Europeans brought Christianity, and so Christianity is a white man's religion, and they were given a mandate, if you will, a divine mandate to go and quote unquote civilize other people, civilize the African, civilize them with Christianity. But the Christianity was a mixture of European culture and the teachings of Christ. And so you wouldn't know what is European and what is Christian. Everything was mixed together. It was an agenda to project a white supremacist ideology, and that was necessary when Europe was engaging in Africa, and they had their own agenda. And the agenda was very clear when you look at the role of the Christian church in slavery and slave trade, when you look at the role of the Christian church in atrocities that were committed over the world. It gives a false impression that Christianity was a white man's religion. So the question is Christianity a white man's religion? And the answer is no. And the answer is no, because when we look at the Bible and the ideas in the Bible, the philosophies in the Bible, you can trace it to Africa. You can trace it to black people. It is not white people who wrote the Bible, because it's very clear that the early Christians, they were not Europeans, and they were Africans. And that raises a question: who wrote the Bible? The Africans who wrote the Bible. And the author of this book, Nana Banche Dakwa, he has researched about the people who actually wrote the Bible. A lot of people falsely believe that Christianity is a white man's religion, and it is false. It is false for black people who think that Christianity is a white man's religion. It is false for white people who believe that Christianity is a white man's religion. Christianity came with Jesus Christ. And if you read the Bible, the Acts of the Apostle, Christianity is about the teachings of the Messiah, Yeshua, Jesus Christ. And recently you are aware that the votes that were opened in Russia, the icons that were opened in Russia by Putin, it's very clear that Jesus was a black man. And so you cannot conclude that Christianity is a white man's religion. You cannot. Except you can also say that Christianity has been indoctrinated, has been infused with so many extra Christian ideas. And so you don't know what is European and what is Christian, because the European Christian, the European missionary, the European pastor, or the black pastor who is preaching Christianity from an Eurocentric perspective gives a false impression that Christianity is a white man's religion. And let's look at ideas, historic ideas, philosophy, the ideas that have shaped the European culture, that has shaped European civilization. Where did it come from? Let's look at science, mathematics, architecture, painting, and writing. Where did all this civilization come from? Did they come from Europe, or did they come from Africa? And you can do your own research, and you will know that the beginning of civilization began in ancient Egypt, and ancient Egypt was occupied by black people. The ancient Egyptians influenced the writings of the Bible, they influenced the philosophies of the Bible, and you, if you do your research, you know that the people who wrote the Bible, they were not Europeans. And so you cannot conclude that Christianity is a white man's religion. You cannot conclude that Europeans wrote the Bible. It's very clear that the Bible was not written by Europeans. If you look at the prophet Zephaniah, Zephaniah writes that he is the son of Cushi. And historical records show that when we're talking about Cushi, we are talking about people from Cush, and most historians believe that Cush is Ethiopia. And so the prophet Zephaniah is an example of the prophets who have an African background, who were purely African. And now, if you also accept the revelation from Putin that the Messiah was a black man, then you know that Christianity could not be a white man's religion. And so, if you're a white man, you believe Christianity is a white man's religion, you are false. If you're a black man and you also believe that Christianity is a white man's religion, you are also you are misleading, you are misled, and you are deceived. And so, if you are worshiping the Messiah, if you are a Christian, and you are only a Christian because you believe that Christianity is a white man's religion, Jesus is white, then you are in a wrong religion. The reason for you are worshiping God, the reason for your being a Christian is not grounded on a good faith. In the same way, if you are a black man and you are using racism and race to make your decision whether to be a Christian or not, and I think you are in error. You are in error because the Lord says we should worship Him in the Spirit and in truth. And when we look at the Bible is very clear. It's the history of black people. The Bible is the history of black people. Why do I say that? I say that because if you look at the Bible, if you look at the table of nations in Genesis chapter 10, the major nations that are cited in the table of nations, if you're talking about Ethiopia, if you're talking about Egypt, these are people who are black. And Egypt is mentioned so many times in the Bible. Ethiopia is mentioned so many times, more than Portugal, if Portugal is even mentioned at all in the Bible, more than Sweden, more than Switzerland, more than France, more than United States. So how do you conclude that Christianity is a white man's religion? How do you conclude that the Bible is about white people when the Bible talks about Africa more than any other region in the world? The location of the Garden of Eden. When we're talking about a place where the children of Jacob went and lived for so many years. When you are talking about Egypt, where the Messiah was sent to fulfill a prophecy. Out of Egypt, I call man son. The prophecy is talking about the Messiah who was hidden in Egypt. And so we can conclude that the Bible is the history of the black man more than you can conclude that the Bible is the history of the white man. So the question is, the Bible a white man's book? Is Christianity a white man's religion? And the answer is no. And I will encourage you to take race and racism from your mind, because we need to worship the Lord in spirit and in truth. And to that extent, race doesn't matter. Color of skin doesn't matter. But now it matters, because so many people, the standard is based upon skin color. And so they are not worshiping God in the spirit and in truth. I'm talking about both white men and also black men and women. You call a spade a spade. You take race out of the question and you speak the truth. And so today we are looking at some white men who spoke the truth. They are researchers, they spoke the truth, and they wrote based upon objective research. And one of them is Sir Godfrey Higgins. Sir Godfrey Higgins, Higgins. He was a leading British Orientalist, a historian, and he wrote that based upon his research, the Messiah, Jesus Christ, he was a black man, and the children of Jacob, he called them the Jews, but uh, definitely they are the Hebrews. They were black men, black women, and he is an European, a white man, writing in 1836. Sir Godfrey Higgins, a well-respected European historian, writing in 1836, and writing that Jesus Christ, the Messiah, was a black man, and the Jews were black. He was researching about the black identity of the Messiah. He was a white man, Sir Godfrey Higgins. At a time when his colleagues, because of white supremacist pride, they would tell lies, he was telling the truth. Sir Godfrey Higgins, a noted British historian, concluding in 1836 that Jesus Christ was a black man. So, did he believe that Christianity was a white man's religion or a black man's religion? Definitely, he knew that the Messiah was a black man, and he was a white man, a historian, well respected. He was telling the truth, and he was telling the truth when his white colleagues, out of racial prejudice, were writing lies, and they were preaching lies. They were lying about the racial identity of Jesus Christ, the cornerstone of Christianity. They were lying about his identity. And if you lie about the Messiah's identity, who would believe you when you preach? Nobody will believe you, and you become a stumbling block. And you become the reason why so many black people will not want to be Christians, because they say that Christianity is a white man religion. And you are the cause of that. You are becoming a stumbling block, and you are causing so many people to lose their salvation. You are causing people to convert to Islam. Your actions, your deceptive research, and your prejudice in research has resulted in people losing their salvation, because black men and women, they think Christianity is a white man's religion. And it's because of the way you wrote about Christianity, it's because of the props and the icons that you use. It is because of the years of whitewashing that you have done that has resulted in so many people losing their salvation. In the same way, I would tell the black man and woman, you believe that Christianity is a white man's religion, and so you will not be a Christian. You would rather be a Muslim, and because you believe that Christianity is a white man's religion. It's because of the books that you read. It's because of the paintings that you see. It's because of the images of Jesus Christ that you see in the movies, and you are being led into destruction. You are being deceived. Take racism out of your mind before you are lost, before you are lost eternally, before you lose your salvation, because you will never be a Christian because you think Christianity is a white man's religion, and somebody is helping you to go astray, so that you lose your salvation. And to the white man who believes that Christianity is a white man's religion and it should be taught in a European way, you are also leading so many people to hell. Christianity is not European culture, it's not white man's culture. Because at the time that we are in, if you are looking at European civilization, if you are looking at Western civilization, having sex with a beast is part of the European culture. A man having sex with a man is part of the European culture. A woman having sex, marrying a woman, is part of the European culture. And it is part of European Christianity to solemnize same-sex marriage. They put their hand on the Holy Bible whilst they are proclaiming husband and wife for Adam and the other guy, Amos. They are putting their hand on the Holy Bible as they are proclaiming marriage between Esther and Elizabeth. That's a blasphemy. And you are proclaiming that Christianity is a white man's religion. And you are leading so many people astray. Because the Christianity that you are preaching to the world is European culture that has gone through moral decay. It has gone through moral decay because if you are looking at European culture, then you will know that there had been so many whitewashing. There's a lot of paganism in European culture, and that paganism has gone into the pulpit. And so if you look at what is going on in the church, the Catholic Church, for a long time, when they were preaching the truth and when they were worshiping the Messiah in the spirit and truth, they were worshiping a black Messiah, because the records show that Yeshua, Jesus Christ, was a black man, and his mother, Madonna, was a black woman. And so it was a black Jesus that they were worshiping, and they didn't mind. They were white people. They didn't mind. They took racism from Christianity because they wanted to worship the Lord in spirit and in truth. And so the Church of Saint Stephen at Genoa, they had a black Messiah. And the church, the Catholic Church at Saint Francisco in Pisa, the Church of Saint Francisco in Pisa, they worship a black Jesus, a black Madonna. And the bronze statue of Saint Peter, it was a black statue. So they knew that Peter was a black man. So how will you conclude that Christianity is a white man's religion, when Peter was the rock on which the Messiah raised his church? The Messiah told Peter, "You are the rock on which I will build my church." And the bronze statue of Peter at St. Peter's Basilica is a black statue, a black man. And so they were worshiping, the Europeans were worshiping a black Peter at St. Peter's Basilica. And how will you conclude that Christianity is a white man's religion when the church, the Roman church, had a statue of St. Peter, a bronze statue that depicts a black man? And when the church, the early church, all over the world, they were worshiping a Madonna, a black Madonna, acknowledging that the mother of Jesus Christ was a black woman. They were doing it because they took racism out of the church and they were worshiping God in spirit and in truth. And so is Christianity a white man's religion? The answer is no, because the bronze statue of St. Peter's Basilica, doesn't portray that Christianity is a white man's religion. But there came a time when people had to make Jesus white, and they started whitewashing Christianity. So at that point, they were projecting a white Jesus, and they were projecting a white church. And so if a black man looks at all those things and concludes that Christianity is a white man's religion, it means that you, the white man, the white woman, who painted Jesus white, you are the cause of confusion. And if they lose their salvation, and the Lord will ask you, the role that you played in whitewashing Christianity, in using race and racism to take so many people to hell. I'm saying this because of the statute of St. Peter's Basilica. This man who wrote the book, The Africans Who Wrote the Bible, is a Ghanaian, Nana Banche Dakwa. And he has written in the book that as part of writing the book, The Africans Who Wrote the Bible, he went and did research in other places, including Egypt and also in Europe, Africa, and other places. And he went to St. Peter's Basilica. He went there with his wife, and he was surprised. He was surprised to see two statues of St. Peter. One was inside and one was outside the cathedral. One was inside the basilica, the statue of St. Peter. The statue of St. Peter inside the basilica depicts a black Peter, but the statue of St. Peter outside the basilica is a white Peter, depicting a white Peter. So that's the contradiction. The contradiction is this: how come a church in Rome has two statues of Apostle Peter? One is black, and that one is placed inside the basilica, inside the church. And one statue is white, a white Peter, and that is placed outside the church. They are doing it because there are a lot of Europeans, because of their racist attitude, because they grew up being children who have a white privilege, and they will not worship a black Peter. And so they have to satisfy their white supremacist egos by putting a white statues depicting Apostle Peter outside the church. And those who go inside the church, those who genuinely will worship the Lord in spirit and in truth, and they wouldn't mind worshiping in the church where the statue of a black man, Apostle Peter, is placed. And that's the hypocrisy. So the question we're asking, is Christianity a white man's religion, or is it a religion that is for everybody without race, without color? I'm asking this question because the same church, the so-called Christian church, they have Black Madonna, and Black Madonna implies the mother of Jesus, who is black. At the same time, the white and they have an image of a white Jesus. So that is contradiction, and it's so ridiculous is very hypocritical. It's a blasphemy. You are worshiping a black Madonna, indicating that the mother of Christ was a black woman. But you don't want to acknowledge that her son, Yeshua, Jesus Christ, was a black man. And so you paint him white. And so that is a contradiction. And because of the contradiction, and because of your racist attitude, because you didn't take racism and race from Christianity, you have caused a lot of confusion. And a lot of people are saying that Christianity is a white man's religion. And so they will not worship a white man. They will not worship Christianity where they'll go and worship a white God, white angels, and white Jesus, and white apostles. And you are causing the confusion. And to the black man who also believes that Christianity is a white man's religion, you are wrong. You are wrong because Putin has now come out with the icons of Russia, indicating that Jesus Christ, the Messiah, was a black man. You are wrong because Europeans and even people in Central America, so many places, they worship a black Jesus for a long time. The Europeans worship black Jesus for 2,000 years until a time came where, out of racial pride and racial hatred and racial animosity, they began painting the image of Jesus white to let it look like a white Jesus, to give a false impression that Christianity is a white man's religion. And they know it's false. They know it's false because when you look at the history of Christianity, when it started in Africa, Rome was not Christian. Christianity was taken to Rome. And over 300 years or more after Africa had been Christianized, that's when Europe began Christianity. And so if you're a black man and you let somebody deceive you, you let a white man deceive you, or you let your black brother and sister deceive you that Christianity is a white man's religion, it means that you have let yourself to be deceived. And the Messiah said in Matthew 24, verse 4, let no man deceive you. In the last days, Lucifer will deceive you, and he will deceive you with a white Jesus, and he will also deceive you with a black Jesus. There are a lot of people, they can't take racism out of their mind. Racial hatred, racial animosity, racial hegemony, racism, reverse racism, all kinds of racism, racism about the color of the skin, and they can't take it away from their mind. And so they will be deceived. To answer the question, is Christianity a white man's religion? The answer is no. The Messiah was a black man. Apostle Peter was a black man. That's why the white Christian worship a black Jesus and put a black Peter in St. Peter's Basilica. But if there comes a time when they change their mind and they don't want to worship Jesus because Jesus is black, if they change their mind and worship a white Jesus, don't follow them. Don't follow them to hell. Don't follow them to their graves. If at a time they who came with Christianity, the idea of Christianity, those who came to Africa to preach Christianity, if they will change their mind and later they will say, now it's okay to be a Christian and gay at the same time. It's okay to be a Christian and have sex with animals. And if you want to follow them to hell, then you are lost. You are lost. You cannot say I'm not going to church because Christianity is now distorted. The white man is distorting Christianity. The black man is distorting Christianity. So I will not go to church. You are being deceived. You have to take racism out of Christianity. Look for your own salvation. Philippians 2:12, work for your salvation with fear and trembling. And for you to do that, you need to take race and racism out of your mind and worship the Lord in spirit and in truth. Such kinds of worshippers are what the Lord is looking for, as the scriptures have said. Thank you for watching this video, and don't be deceived by the color of Christ. Don't be humiliated by anybody at all. Don't let anybody deceive you. Take race and racism out of your mind and worship the Lord in spirit and in truth. Thank you very much.